Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and we have some Paladin changes on the beta slash PTR. I'm logged on to the beta here with the talent page pulled up as you can see, and we're going to kind of go over the things that they changed. There were a few adjustments, I believe, on some of the tuning, but it was very small if so. I will get into that more maybe on like when I'm talking about like a actual build video again. And ironically enough, I was practicing single target builds today when the servers went down and they did this update. I had done a bit of testing on single target. I was possibly going to make the video for that instead, but then we got all these changes, so we're going to go through these. We're going to talk about the things that changed and just some other general thoughts that I've had. This build right here is just like an example of a single target build. Doesn't mean it's the best build. Example of a single target build that I have activated. But let's go through and actually talk about the talents that kind of changed a little bit. It was mostly on the Paladin side. The Ret side, we didn't really see much change here. Like I said, I think there were some values adjusted. There were some names adjusted, names of spells adjusted. But I think it's mostly the same. On Wowhead, you'll see it says like talent was moved or something. Nothing was moved. At least that's on the beta or PTR right now. The first thing I want to talk about as far as change was just something that I missed. I'm sorry, actually. I would have done a video about this, or at least included it in a video, but I apparently missed the update when they combined Seasoned Warhorse with Seal of the Templar here. Somehow this went completely under my radar. It's not a big change. This area is still terrible. It didn't actually address the issues that existed here by any means by putting Seal of the Templar up here. Didn't address anything at all. But it is noticeable that they did change something at least. Now there's only 3 points of Divine Steed. But it's not like they combined that to make it a good thing. It's just 1 second instead of 2 seconds. 2 points for 2 seconds, 1 point for 1 second. So it's the same thing, still terrible. Let's keep going through the changes that were made. I'm sorry if they did. They could have changed something to one of these other talents that are not Ret related, and I apologize if so. But yeah, so they changed the Sanctified Wrath. So Sanctified Wrath is like the old school style now. So now it's not the Judgment gives you 2 holy power. It's call upon the light and become an avatar of Retribution for 25 seconds. Each holy power spent explodes in holy light for 2456 damage to nearby enemies. So this will definitely be something you want to take in AoE for sure. We'll see if it will be the case for single target, or maybe Divine Purpose is better for single target. But this is the old school Sanctified Wrath. This is just think BFA, Sanctified Wrath. That's what we have there. So that was changed. That's a noticeable change. Another super notable change here is here with Mad Paragon. This is like the original Mad Paragon. It's now called Zealot's Paragon. And that's that Hammer of Wrath and Judgment increase by 1 second instead of 0.5 seconds. So previously it was 0.5 second extension. Now it's a full second extension, which just makes your thing extend quite a bit more, honestly. So it is quite nice. That's a huge buff for Mad Paragon. Now Zealot's Paragon. Sanctified Wrath, it's just a change that people kind of like. It'll definitely be good for AoE, for sure. And that we didn't really need much help in AoE. And we'll see for single target or not. And right now, most people believe that like choosing, you can't see it here, but I have Seal of Order taken here in the bottom left. Most people think that taking the capstones will be better because, in theory, capstones should be better than Divine Purpose, for example. But, we'll see. What I said was basically you're just going to choose the three of the 4 best ones here. So whether that's Divine Purpose, Sanctified Wrath, Paragon, or Seal of Order, you're going to choose the best 3 of 4 there for whatever content you're doing. And we won't know that until tuning hits. And guys, this is why it's important to, like when I do the video, sometimes I do get bogged into the numbers too much, that you shouldn't care too much about the numbers right now because we don't even have the talents set yet. Any of these talents could change at any time, and then that changes a lot how things work. Mad Paragon being buffed significantly, Sanctified Wrath being changed completely how it works. These are big changes, and so yeah, it's worth noting that, right? You can also see here, if you compare this to some of my previous builds that I've shared before, I don't have Incandescence or Touch of Light here. Incandescence does do some damage, but like I said, this is a single target build, and Touch of Light currently basically doesn't do anything. It just either doesn't proc enough or whatever the case may be. It's undertuned. So I just don't have that selected or anything selected there. That's technically a damaged talent, but because it's not really doing anything, I just don't have it selected. It's not a huge deal or anything. Just thought I'd point that out. So yeah, those are the big changes there, and they're pretty significant changes. Sanctified Wrath, that's an AOE buff 100%, and then that we'll see on the single target, right? It's just like BFA single. It's just like BFA Sanctified Wrath. On the Ret side, we did not have many changes over here, but there are some things I wanted to talk about for sure in regards to these other changes. There were some like changes to names, like Path of Ruin is now called the Radiant Decree. As far as I can tell, the numbers look the same on it. Again, they have every spell update on the thing, and I did read through it honestly, but I didn't retain all of the information that I read there. It looks the same. If not, it is very close because I remember the general number that it said that it did. So now it's called Radiant Decree. So that's just like a name change. That doesn't actually change anything as far as style or gameplay or anything like that. One thing I did want to talk about though, and it's in regards to, Avenging Wrath in general, right? Mad Paragon extending it, or I gotta call it Zealot's Paragon. I'll just call it Paragon. Paragon extending it, Sanctified Wrath modifying it, and that's this Might versus Crusade node here. If you've watched other videos of mine, you'll notice that I'm always in Might, and there's a reason for that. One, I think it might just end up being no pun intended, it might just end up being better for dungeons, which is what all you can test right now on the beta. But Crusade, if you look right here, so Avenging Wrath 2-minute cooldown in the bottom right, Avenging Wrath 2-minute cooldown. If I switch this to Crusade and apply, changing talents, now we have Crusade 3-minute cooldown. So there's no doubt that Crusade is a stronger ability than Might. Might is just giving you your 20% crit that you already have on retail right now, Shadowlands Season 4. All that's doing is giving you your crit and giving you your normal Avenging Wrath. Crusade is modifying your ability and making it stronger, obviously. Crusade's a good talent, always has been a good talent. And it's modifying it. Now, you don't get the crit, but it's on a 3-minute cooldown. Now, a lot of people are assuming this is a bug or not intended, but this has been a lot of iterations and passes, and this is still on 3 minutes. This could be, and I've assumed that this was intentional, that Crusade's going to be a 3-minute cooldown. I could be wrong, of course, and people could be right. It could be changed to 2 minutes, in which case you would take it a lot more often in a lot more instances. But I think the way it is right now, if you just assume everything is as face value, then I do think Might and Crusade are a lot closer then. It's not a slam dunk to pick Crusade, regardless of what you're doing. I think if it remains a 2 and 3 minute difference there, 2 minute for Might, 3 minute for Crusade, I think a lot of times it's going to matter on how long the fight is, right? For a 3-minute fight, 2 uses of Might is going to be better than 1 minute of Crusade. For a 4-minute fight, 2 uses of Crusade could be better than 2 uses of Might, right? And because Crusade will probably be slightly stronger, you would assume as a 3-minute versus a 2-minute cooldown. And I think it'll largely be based on the fight length as far as bosses go. As far as Mythic Plus goes, it could be Tyrannical versus Fortified, whereas Might be better on Fortified, and Crusade might be better on Tyrannical on bosses. But either way, it could be the opposite of that too, right? Depends on tuning. But as far as this being a 2 and 3 minute cooldown, if that's the case, I don't think that it's just like the slam dunk that Crusade is the option there. It is cool to extend your Crusade with Mad Paragon, but it's cool to extend your Avenging Wrath normally as well. So I'm not saying for sure which one's best or which one's better. I mean, I am saying Crusade's better. Crusade is clearly better, but I think it's just going to depend on what content you're doing, unless they change the cooldowns to it. Another interesting thing is if it remains a 3-minute cooldown, is you do have Holy Avenger here as well, right, for a 3-minute cooldown, and you could pair those up. And every 3 minutes, you could be quite strong if that were the case. So don't count out a Holy Avenger Crusade pair up here if they remain 3 minutes. So that's just something interesting that I don't see other people talking about. Everyone kind of on the Theorycraft side assumes the Crusade thing is a bug. I am not assuming that until they address it in some way. Because right now they haven't said anything about it. They haven't said, yeah, we know it's coming up as 2 minutes or 3 minutes instead of 2. They haven't addressed that at all. So, yeah, I wouldn't assume it that way. But overall, I would say this is probably a pretty big buff just because of the extension for our wings, whichever talent we decide to go with the Zealot's Paragon. This is just a straight buff to it. Sanctified Wrath is a little bit TBD. I don't know, again, on single target, if it's better to have the extra holy power. I believe it'll either be the same or better for AoE than the old Sanctified Wrath. Extra holy power, obviously you get more Divine Storms, but every time you spend, you're doing the burst of damage to everything around you as well. So it could be kind of even on AoE, kind of a buff to AoE. Could be a nerf to single target, for sure. And in which case you might not even take it then at that point. And maybe what they're, as I said, maybe as I was saying, might kind of makes more sense to me for Mythic Plus in a lot of cases, at least if it's a 2-3 minute thing. But if these are a 3 minute cooldown, is Crusade just better for bosses and for single target where you dump your Holy Avenger with Crusade 3 minute cooldowns together? It's just stuff to think about. I think it's very interesting to think about that stuff, to theorycraft about it, and to ponder it, and to possibly test it here if we get some bosses up, and to see how that works with a Holy Avenger Crusade combination, and how cool that could possibly be, which I believe it probably could be quite cool. So I might try that out just in case it does end up being that way. But yeah, this is pretty cool. This isn't like we don't know if it's a buff or a nerf, I guess. I guess it's technically a buff because of Mad Paragon, but we'll see how everything works out. We'll see if the Might in Crusade thing is a bug or if it's intended and everything like that. And yeah, most of the changes were to the Paladin side, so hopefully we actually get some ret-specific changes coming soon. I have a feeling that this is unfortunately probably close to what the talent thing is going to look like. I only say unfortunately because there's a lot of the biggest thing I'll end the video on this that I'd like to see is to have some sort of ringing clarity with Divine Toll. Right now, Execution Sentence feels absolutely awful on the beta. I guess it's playable on retail, like on PTR. I mean, because you still have your ringing clarity or whatever thing, so it still kind of feels playable. But I can tell you on beta, it does not feel playable. It feels absolutely terrible on beta without ringing clarity. So like this side is kind of dead, and then Divine Toll is still really good for AoE, but for single target, you just don't really have great options. Like Final Reckoning's fine, but it's not like the best single target ability. So it's a little bit weird, it feels a little bit weird. Obviously, you have the super single target side over here on the right, and then you just kind of have to throw in some other crap with it, unfortunately. So, that's kind of my issue with it. And like I said, this kind of left side's kind of dead without ringing clarity. I wouldn't mind seeing this just completely removed, in all honesty, without ringing clarity. It's not even really an option, in my opinion. So, that's where I'm at right now, and I was going through single target stuff anyways, as I was saying earlier in the video. But yeah, so that was my thoughts on. I was like, man, I really hate Execution Sentence in this beta because it kind of stinks, and so I kind of went away from it pretty quickly. But yeah, I'll get back to that. I'll read through more through the spell IDs. I'm going to do some more single target testing as we go through here over the next couple days, or maybe just tomorrow, and do a video tomorrow on it. But I'm going to continue this. We have these changes, which are really cool, so I want to play with them. And I'll get back to you guys with all the information that I can garner from this, and also, peruse and see what other people are finding out as well. So yeah, that's it for this one, guys. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.